he made an impact later in this game. And I think the most significant coaching adjustment mid-game yesterday is the decision to say, we're going to put our best run-stopping edge, Jalen Holmes, out there on one edge, and we don't have a second best right now. So, Deron Payne, you're going to play on the edge.
It's the Pick Six at 6.
All right, let's get it started with number one. Of course, we picked 6 players on Friday that we think could be, or that we think will shape the course of the game for the Commanders on Sunday. Jayden Daniels is not eligible to be picked. Opposing players are eligible except for their quarterback. So no Daniels, no Penix. And number one, we went with, Anthony, the B-Robs. Both Bijan Robinson and Brian Robinson. And their impact on the game, you might say, was quite large.
Yeah, definitely in the first half, Bijan Robinson, he definitely set the tone early and often. Really, the offensive line of the Atlanta Falcons, they were able to get the ground game going. They were able to control the ball and keep the Commanders' offense off the field. And he ended up, getting 2 touchdowns. And, well, that was in the first half anyway. And then I want to say in the second half, I think we did a good job of responding. I think you touched on it earlier when you spoke about the Commanders adjusting and moving Deron Payne to the edge, set the edge and things of that nature, and we were able to, stifle them a little bit. So I think it was a tale of two halves when it comes to, stopping and defending the run. And then on the other side with Brian Robinson, he had 13 carries, 60 yards.
They got him going a little bit for a stretch there. The run game in general was just stilted, and it really comes down to the line play. I mean, I think a lot more of this is about the line play. I will say Bijan Robinson, which I believe is the correct pronunciation based off the player card, by the way, yesterday. I'm not saying that because I don't know how to say his name. I believe the way that it was written on the official pronunciation is Bijan. So if it's actually Bijan the way everyone's been saying it, then, fine. But whatever. The Falcons guy, number 7. Literally first carry of the game. I mentioned the stat last week that he leads the NFL in broke tackles, and that he has actually the 4th best broken tackle season since 2018. He's having a historically great season in that realm, and he just spills a tackle in the backfield. You're like, oh, here we go. I think Dorrance Armstrong has him dead to rights, and against 30 backs in the league, he's fine. Against Saquon and Robinson, whoops, miss, gone. And he gets 4 or 5 yards, if not more. So he makes a ton of those runs work because he's able to slip tackles in the backfield or in the hole and just pick up extra yardage all over the place. I think the other place that he, and obviously we're not going to talk about Kyle Pitts because we didn't pick him, but they do some cool stuff. I actually really like Atlanta's offense, the way it's built. It's very, very well structured. And what they'll do sometimes is they'll put Robinson or Kyle Pitts outside, wide, with Drake London in the slot. And so what that does, if you're doing that on a 3rd down specifically, where you anticipate the defense is going to play man, is because the linebacker or the safety that's going to be one-on-one on either the tight end or the running back then lines up at basically outside corner. Michael Davis, who was the outside corner, is the most outside guy covering a wide receiver, but he's in the slot. And so now Drake London has a 2-way go. And so they pick up a first down at one point because they're able to get an easy out because it's basically a choice route for Drake London with a 2-way go. He can break in, he can break out. And Michael Davis is not a slot corner, but Drake London is skilled enough to do it. Pitts is skilled enough to be legitimately dangerous outside, and so is Robinson. He actually smokes Quan Martin on a double move in this game, and Penix misses the throw. So huge impact with touching the ball, with just where he is on the field. And unfortunately for the Falcons, it just wasn't enough to win the game. For Brian Robinson, I would like to see a little more Chris Rodriguez, frankly. I think B-Rob's playing okay. He's running hard, but I think Chris Rodriguez is just fresher and is seeing the field a little bit better. He also, I think the other big thing is B-Rob, his pass protection has been very up and down, and Chris Rodriguez has also been up and down at times, but he's been a little more up lately. So it would not surprise me if in Week 18 we start to see a little bit more even distribution of those snaps, and especially considering C-Rod got a lot of snaps and important drives late in that football game.
Number 2
in our pick 6 at 6 was Luke, because we thought that Luke McCaffrey, or at least I thought that Luke McCaffrey would have a big impact on this game. Whoops. This is kind of our one miss. He only did Luke McCaffrey, 22 of the 83 snaps. He was in for 12 passing downs and 10 run blocking downs, and he was perfectly mediocre at all of it. I don't think he had a catch in the game. He graded out as a 61 run blocker, which is like not tragically bad, but obviously not very good. He didn't get the screen stuff that I thought he would get. I really would love to know a little bit more inside Cliff Kingsbury and Jayden Daniels' mind about Luke McCaffrey, because I do think that there's a little bit more to offer. But ultimately, they're choosing to go other directions, and I have to just trust that they're not doing that to spite themselves, because he's one of their draft picks. Of course, if they were to have any bias, it should be towards Luke McCaffrey. But good job on the kickoff return that you got, Luke. I only think he got one, and the rest of them were touchbacks. He did a really good job. He had another plus return, but it does not look like he is... he's just going to be a feature part of this offense, no matter who's out there this year.
Yeah, I feel like every time we think his number is going to get called, they just go a different direction. And, I mean, the other guys, OZ, he stepped up. Jameson stepped up.
Sure did.
So,
I mean, OZ had a phenomenal game, and if it wasn't for that Cosme hold, would have had another multi-touchdown game. The toughness that he runs with, you're reminded why he was the punt returner. And I think Crowder's the better option back there. I think he's shiftier, and I think that's more important than running through tackles, because it's really hard to run through tackles on punt return, because those guys are coming at you full speed just as you're getting started. So a guy like Crowder, who can flat out make them miss, is better versus, hey, it's a much shorter area. It's a little more toughness, run through stuff that the routes that OZ is catching, where he's coming at full speed on a slant and then running through a safety. But you see that elusiveness in a power form for some of this yak that he's getting, and it's really, really impressive. But they need Diami back badly. And obviously we think that Noah Brown's done for the year, but it is a reminder that when teams can that hyper focus on Terry McLaurin, it is really, really hard. And also, Terry picked up an injury late in the week last week, I guess. He had like an ankle situation and just not 100%. So let's make sure that he's good for the playoffs, because you are going to need him. Number 3 on our list.
Number 3.
Anthony, you picked the BSJ Michael Davis, whoever is facing Marshawn Lattimore combo. How'd that go?
Not good. Michael Davis, I want to say it was the Falcons' second drive. He had the PI in the back of the end zone. BSJ, I mean, they were both rotating, but I just feel like
it was mostly Michael Davis. BSJ only played 15 snaps, and some of those were when Davis got hurt on like the second play. But I mean, all 3 corners did not have a good day. I'm sorry, it just is a fact, right? BSJ had the best day by a lot, frankly. Now, he also only played 15 snaps, so much smaller sample size, but Michael Davis graded out at a 33.8 on PFF. Mike Sainer still graded out on at a 44.7. And frankly, I don't even know if that's the right order. Also, PFF hates Daron Payne. I don't know why. I thought Daron was good, and they graded him at a 39 too. That feels insane, but whatever. We'll talk about that another time. But Sainer still, Davis only gets the PI on that drive because Sainer still lines up in the neutral zone on field goal block.
Yeah,
what are we doing? The Davis penalty on that PI is absolutely 100% the correct call. It's also a little bit unfortunate, but it's also unfortunate in a way that's indicative of some of the problems that Davis has, which is his awareness rating, if you will, seems to be a little low. Because when a guy's in the back of the end zone, giving him a little chuck out of bounds is kind of smart, because they're not going to call illegal contact on you. And when you get in a scramble drill situation, the quarterback breaks the pocket, there is no such thing as illegal contact. So as the play extends a little bit to just be like, oh, you're on the back line, I'm going to make it so you can't catch the ball. You're out of bounds. The problem was he doesn't realize that the ball's already been thrown. So now instead of this being a smart play, a heads-up play to kind of eliminate Drake London from the play, it's PI. And you give up a touchdown that way on a very silly drive with 2 very silly penalties. Later in the game, he again just like seems to lose track of the ball and the down. He's just kind of got his eyes on the receiver and it's zone coverage. And you're like, dude, aren't you watching the quarterback? If you had any awareness here, this is an easy PBU. And instead he gives up on like the penultimate or one of the final drives or plays before the Riley Patterson mixed field goal. He gives up this super deep comeback and he's like in great position. He's just no awareness. Meanwhile, I thought BSJ played well, covered well. His run fits I thought were really good. I know he's the closest guy on the touchdown on the edge to Robinson, but that's you have to have a harder edge set. You can't give Bijan a straight line to the corner, and the ball's at the 3.5 yard line, and he stops him with that. Obviously, pushes him out of bounds. He's kind of got the ball in the back motion running. And so it's not a touchdown. It's overruled. So ultimately, BSJ pushes Robinson out for like a 3-yard gain. If that's in the middle of the field, like that's a good, excellent job. You got isolated outside because your edge failed and your safeties are nowhere to be found because they're playing a lot closer to the line of scrimmage and you forced a 3.5 yard gain. That's a pretty good job. It's just there was only 3.5 yards of field left. So I don't really put that on BSJ. And he had 2 other really nice run fits earlier in the drive on back-to-back plays. So I don't know what you do at corner. You pray that Lattimore comes back. I'd probably play BSJ over Davis in Week 18 because I just think Davis, there's just not enough there, and BSJ at least has some upside. But then again, maybe Davis is weak to be great because Davis is also super physical. It's not like it's all bad, right? Like he hits people. And also on that same play where he gives up the deep comeback, he keeps the receiver in bounds. So at the very least, the clock keeps running, and then Raheem Morris gives his clock management gift, and the field goal winds up way longer than it should be for Patterson, and he misses it. So, it was a bad day for the corners. And Sanders still was, like, beyond the offsides, Sanders still had the most concerning day, frankly, because there's just stuff where his technique is so bad that he doesn't even give himself a chance. So that's got to get cleaned up going into the playoffs, and I think it's a reminder of why they maybe wanted him covering less skilled receivers, less outside guys, more let's keep him in the slot and use some of the quickness and the physicality that he plays with in a different position.
Number 4.
Zach Ertz caught the game winner. Good pick. Good pick, guy. Well done. Well done, Hoffman. Basically, the logic was this. You look around, Diami's out, Noah Brown's out, Terry's a little banged up, someone's got to catch passes, and Zach Ertz did exactly what they needed him to do. And I thought there was a great quote from Dan Quinn today. He was asked, what were your expectations for Zach Ertz? And he was basically like, I just wanted him to be awesome in the third down and red zone. And if he was that for us, great. It's worth it with everything else that he brings. And if he's more, then even better. And obviously, Zach has been so much more. He's been a first and second down player on top of a third down player. He has been their starting legitimate tight end one the entire season. And they definitely missed him when he was out. And he has just been an essential part of Jayden's ascension because he is the safety blanket. And he's still a weapon in the red zone. He just understands the small spaces and the angles that you need to have. He knows how to beat man coverage, even though he's not nearly as fast or quick as he used to be. Although he was able to rumble 30 yards of yak off for the big one on the third down dump off yesterday. So, man, it's just good for Zach. A hell of a year, 2024. He comes back, proves he can still play. He and Julie have twins. So it's just been a tremendous year for him, and I'm really happy to see him get the game winner yesterday. Heck of a route, heck of a catch. And as I said, good pick. Pick the quarterback's second favorite target when all the other ones that are below him are unavailable.
He also got paid yesterday, Craig. Did you see that?
I did see this. He made $750K yesterday. Yeah. Touchdown bonus, reception bonus, yardage bonus. Hit them all.
One game. That's a hell of a game for him. Money, playoffs. Yeah, good gracious.
They call that a good day at the office, Anthony.
Number 5.
Jeremy Chin had a mixed day at the office. I think more good than bad in a couple of big-time highlight plays, Anthony. A couple of times where Kyle Pitts gets him. But that was maybe the best battle all day long, the one-on-one between Chin and Pitts. And it came up in some big spots. They both got their licks, figuratively and literally. in this one.
Yeah, definitely a good battle. I know he beat him on an out route and was able to get like 23 yards. That was like his biggest run. But outside of that, he gave up a slant. They tried him again down the field. He got a PBU. So I think he had a solid game. I think in the run game, though, to be honest, the first half, I think that was on everybody. Missing tackles, not filling, lanes and things of that nature. But for the most part, I think from a coverage standpoint, I think Jeremy played good. He also had another pass breakup on Hodge, the hit stick down the middle of the field, because that was a huge hit. But I thought he played solid. I thought the safety play in general was solid. Quan, he had the big interceptions to start the game, and then he also had a couple of good plays over the middle of the field.
Chin and Quan both had hits yesterday that get flagged a lot, but they were correctly not flagged. Like, they executed. That is a fine needle to thread. Yep. Those hit stick, dislodge the ball, do it without your helmet making contact with really anything. Make sure that you're not making contact with their head. They hit in the target area and were able to knock balls free. And I will also say this, on the game-tying touchdown to Kyle Pitts, that is a hell of a throw and catch by Penix and Pitts. Chin is all over Pitts, and that ball has to be down and away. You'd like Percy Butler to be underneath that more. Penix does a tremendous job of looking Bobby Wagner off. It's cover 2. So there's 5 defenders across, 2 defenders deep. And Pitts, it's 4 verts too. So against cover 2 and 4 verts, your inside receivers will try to widen out those flat players or the curl players and then bend in behind them, like your red zone 4 verts type of route. And that's exactly what they did. Percy gets a little bit wide. Penix does a good job. And then there's one player in the dead center of the field, and that player is Bobby Wagner. And Penix looks to his right, stares down the other seam. Bobby takes like 2 steps that way because he's reading quarterback eyes, and Penix knows he's coming back to Pitts, and Shin kind of knows it too, and he just is late. So I think overall a good day for Jeremy Chin. Their run game stuff was kind of on everybody. I don't think that he particularly was bad. I mean, he got blocked up a couple times. It happens. But I think to make the kind of plays that he did in the stress that he was under, because he could have easily picked up some PIs and said he got PBUs on some of the fade balls and stuff to Pitts on the outside, because he's basically playing outside corner against a guy who's basically a wide receiver. So it's a good job. Nobody get any ideas about having Jeremy Chin play for Michael Davis. That's not what I meant by that. It's different. It's a good job by Chin in a very small sample size.
Number 6.
Last but not least, in our pick 6 at 6, Dante Fowler. What an interesting day he had, Anthony. What a tremendously interesting day. Because as a run defender, he really struggled. He graded out as a 41 on PFF, and I think that's probably right. He got washed out of the line of scrimmage. He tried to jump inside, got caught on that. He didn't get too far up the field. Like, Dante Fowler, run defender, first and second down against Bijan Robinson in this outside zone. Not great yesterday. However, pass rusher winds up with a sack fumble, winds up with a couple other pressures, gets held. Like, he made an impact later in this game. And I think the most significant coaching adjustment mid-game yesterday is the decision to say, we're going to put our best run-stopping edge, Jalen Holmes, out there on one edge, and we don't have a second best right now. So Deron Payne, you're going to play on the edge with John Allen, Sheldon Day, and Johnny Newton rotating inside, and those guys played very well. And Payne and Allen played really well together. John, deserves a shout out. Like, he played pretty well, I think, in his first game back. He was part of the problem in the first half with everybody else, but like, everybody's getting moved. Someone needs to stop the bleeding, and it's really kind of on that edge guy. And once Payne is out there, it's a different story. And Holmes is not giving you a ton as a pass rusher, but like, he did a good job setting the edge as well, to the point that Zach Robinson kind of looks at it and he's like, I don't want to run at those guys. Let's just have Penix drop back. It's not going to be a pass rush. And the problem is, that's not really how Michael Penix wants to play. He's going to be much better in rhythm off of play action. And so just a tremendous adjustment from the Commanders coaching staff. They've played Payne on the edge a little bit already this year, but it's been more of in pass rushing situations where they'll get Luvu or Fowler inside and get some different matchups. To actually do it when he's going to have to play defensive end, first and second down, they could pass rush, could run style versus obvious passing situations. Different beast, and he was ready. So credit to Deron, credit to the staff, and then Fowler takes advantage of his opportunities once those run stops turn into obvious passing situations and pass rush opportunities.
And on Friday, I think you actually alluded to how Dante Fowler, how he likes to, jump inside the tight end and slice and things of that nature, how that could be a detriment against a team like this. Like, I think if we play the Rams, I think Dante Fowler's style might work a little bit better than against a team like the Falcons that likes to, get those edges.
The problem with the Rams is they have every run in the book that they can run. So if I'm Sean, I'm like, I know how to coach up outside zone. Like, we're gonna try to hit that against this team because Philly's had success with it, Atlanta's had success with it, and then you see what you get. Because unlike Atlanta. Wait, we're gonna make Matthew Stafford beat us? Like, no. So it's risky. So it's tough. The NFL is hard. Imagine that, especially when you're playing playoff teams. But good on the Commanders for figuring it out yesterday. Staff, players, everybody come together for the win.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.